Part 1. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. I hadn't set foot in that house for 22 years. Not since the night I left, the night the door slammed behind me and I swore I'd never come back. But then the letter arrived. It was handwritten. No return address. Just my name, in that familiar slanted cursive I hadn't seen since I was 17. Your father's dying. He keeps asking for you. If you wait too long, he won't remember your name. No signature. Just that. At first, I threw it in the trash. By nightfall, I'd pulled it out again. Smoothed the creases. Sat in silence, holding it like it might burst into flames in my hand. I didn't know why I cared. But I did. 3 days later, I was standing at the edge of the gravel drive, staring at the house beneath the pines. Same crooked shutters. Same sagging porch. Only now it looked smaller, like time had chewed on its edges. Mara met me at the door. My sister. 2 years older, same as she'd always been, sharp eyes, arms crossed, voice tight like a stretched wire. You came, she said. Not a greeting. More like an accusation. You wrote the letter. No, she said. Mom did. Before she passed. Told me to send it when the time came. I looked down. I didn't know she was gone. She died 6 years ago. She let me sit with that for a moment. Then stepped aside. Come in. The house smelled like cedar and silence. And something else I couldn't name, maybe memory, maybe guilt. The kind of weight you carry without realizing it. Dad's not the same, Mara said as she led me down the hall. Some days he doesn't know what year it is. Other days he asks about you. Gets angry when you're not here. Sounds about right. She stopped outside his door. He might not recognize you. I nodded. He didn't really recognize me before. She didn't laugh. Just opened the door. He was sitting by the window in a faded armchair, sunlight catching on the liver spots of his hands. He turned slowly when I stepped in. His eyes were pale, unfocused. Then they landed on me. For a moment, nothing. And then. You took your time. His voice was dry, rasping. But clear. I got lost, I said. He gave a quiet, bitter laugh. Still lying, then. We didn't speak much that first day. Mostly silence. The occasional flicker of something unspoken. He asked once about my job, then forgot my answer before I finished giving it. Later, Mara made coffee in the kitchen while I sat at the table, staring at the pine trees through the cracked window. I wasn't going to send it, she said. The letter? She nodded. You didn't come to Mom's funeral. Didn't call. Didn't write. I know. So why now? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. That night, I stayed in my old room. The wallpaper was gone, the bed smaller than I remembered. But the floorboards still creaked the same. And the closet still had the initials I'd carved into the frame, D+A. I ran my fingers over them, slowly. My heart stuttered. Anna. I hadn't said her name in years. But it said itself in my mind. Softly. Like a song buried beneath dust. Anna. And just like that, I remembered why I left. Because of what happened to her. Part 2. Her name in the walls. I barely slept. The house creaked all night, groaning like it remembered everything I wanted to forget. I stared at the ceiling, the moonlight dragging shadows across the floor like ghosts walking in circles. In the silence, I heard her name again. Anna. We were 17. It was summer. That brutal, golden kind of summer where everything feels louder, brighter, more permanent than it should. She lived 3 houses down. Her parents ran the hardware store. Her laugh cracked through the air like breaking glass, sharp, surprising, unforgettable. And I loved her. From the moment she shoved me into the creek behind my house, eyes wide with that ridiculous daring grin. I thought we had time. Until the night we didn't. I sat at the kitchen table with Mara the next morning, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee I didn't drink. She watched me carefully. Like she was waiting for me to name the thing between us. Finally, she said, "You haven't asked about her." I didn't need to ask. I already knew. "She's still here?" I asked anyway. Mara nodded. "Married. Divorced. 2 kids. Works nights at the hospital. Still walks past here sometimes." I imagined it. Anna with lines beneath her eyes, tired hands, a long hallway lit by overhead fluorescents. The fire gone, or maybe just hidden under layers of survival. "She doesn't talk about that night," Mara added. "Neither do I." That night. The night everything fell apart. We were out by the lake. Just the 2 of us. The stars, the fire, the bottle of cheap whiskey hidden in my jacket. She was going to leave. College. Art school. Something bigger than this town, this life, this house under the pines. And I wanted to go with her. But then she told me she was pregnant. I remember the silence that followed. I didn't say the right thing. I didn't say anything. I panicked. Pulled away. Said I needed time. That I'd figure it out. That I'd fix it. She cried. Left me there. Alone by the fire, the embers dying with every step she took back toward the road. The next morning, she was gone. And by the end of the week, so was the baby. I heard the rumors. She was sent to stay with family upstate. Came back different. Quieter. Lighter in a way that felt like something had been carved out of her. We never spoke again. And I couldn't forgive myself enough to face her. So I left. Now, 22 years later, I was back in the house that had never felt like home, sitting across from the sister who watched everything fall apart and never said a word. "She asked about you once," Mara said, gently. "Years ago. After Mom's funeral. What did you say?" "That you weren't ready." I stared at her. She said she wasn't either. That night, I went for a walk through town. Past the church. The diner. The high school football field still lit up like it mattered. And then, I saw her. Anna. Sitting on the hospital steps in her scrubs, a half-eaten sandwich in her lap. I stopped across the street. Hidden by the dark. She looked older. Beautiful still, but different. Like someone who had lived through fire and come out quiet on the other side. She looked up suddenly. Like she felt me watching. Our eyes met. Just for a second. Then she stood. Walked back inside. And I was left alone with the weight of everything I never said. When I returned to the house, Mara was waiting. "Did you see her?" I nodded. "Are you going to speak to her?" "I don't know." She stepped aside, and I walked back to my room. On the nightstand was an envelope I hadn't seen before. My name on it. My father's handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a single sentence. "You need to tell her the truth, before I do." Part 3, The Thing I Never Said. I stared at the letter for a long time. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I understood it too well. My father had always been a hard man. Cold, proud, a strict believer in consequences. But he also carried secrets like debts. And he always paid them, eventually. Usually with interest. Now, as he sat in that room waiting for the end, he was trying to settle one last score. Only this one had my name on it. The next morning, I found him by the window again, wrapped in the same flannel blanket. He was awake. Clear. "I got your note," I said. He didn't look up. "She deserves to know." I stayed quiet. "Have you seen her?" he asked. "I have." "Then you know." "Yes." He finally turned to me. His eyes were sharp, even as his body failed him. "I should have told her myself. Years ago. But I didn't have the stomach for it." "You told Mom?" He nodded. "She made me promise never to say a word. Said if we buried it deep enough, maybe it would stay buried." He coughed. Hard. His whole frame shaking. "But you can feel it, can't you? That kind of truth doesn't stay dead. It comes up through the floorboards." The silence stretched. Then, finally, he said it. "She lost the baby. But there was another." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "You know damn well what I mean." My hands went cold. "She was carrying twins," he said. I backed away from the chair. "No. That's not, no one ever said." "No one knew," he cut in. "Except your mother and me. And the doctor she saw in secret." He looked down at his hands. "They were both born. The girl didn't make it. But the boy, he did." The air in the room turned sharp. "You're lying." He shook his head. I held him. "Then what happened?" He hesitated. Then said it, flat, emotionless. "We gave him up." My knees almost buckled. "What? You weren't ready." "She wasn't ready. We couldn't raise him. We told her the baby didn't survive." "You told her?" "She never knew," he said. "We buried the lie and let it grow." The room spun. Everything felt warped, the walls, the light, the man in front of me. All twisted by the gravity of that one brutal truth. "You let her believe her son was dead?" He nodded, eyes closed. "She still doesn't know?" "She never came asking." I walked out without another word. Mara was in the hallway. She didn't ask what happened. Just looked at me and said, "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I think I was one," I said. "Now I'm not so sure." That afternoon, I found myself back at the hospital. She was on the bench again. Same sandwich, half eaten. Same weary eyes. This time, I walked toward her. She saw me. Didn't move. "Hi," I said. "Hi." Silence. "You've aged," she said. "You haven't," I lied. She gave me half a smile. "The same one from the lake that night. The one that cut and healed at the same time." "Why are you here?" she asked. "I came back for my father," I said. Then, quieter, "But I stayed for you." More silence. "I need to tell you something," I said. "And I don't know how." Her face changed. "Is it about the baby?" I froze. "I knew," she said softly. "I always knew it wasn't the whole story. But no one ever said anything. So I didn't either." "You thought he lived?" She nodded. "Not at first. But something in me, it just never let go." I swallowed. "Anna, he did." She stared at me. And in her eyes, I saw everything: hope, fear, grief, and something close to relief, like someone who'd finally heard their own heartbeat after decades underwater. Then she asked the question that shook me to the core. "Where is he?" Part 4, Echoes in the Blood. Her words hung in the air like a storm that hadn't broken yet. "Where is he?" I opened my mouth to answer, and realized I didn't know. All I had was a whisper from a dying man. A truth buried in shame, sealed in silence. No names, no papers. Just the weight of something irreversible. "I don't know," I said. Her eyes didn't move. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. But he's alive? I nodded. For a moment, she closed her eyes. Her whole body trembled with something I couldn't name, a mix of grief and something dangerously close to hope. Then she stood up. We're going to find him. We sat in her car for hours that night. Parked in front of the lake, the same place where the truth had first broken us apart. She kept her hands on the steering wheel like she was trying to stop them from shaking. I used to imagine him, she said. A boy with your eyes. Maybe my nose. I thought maybe he'd love drawing, or music, or dogs. I gave him a name. I never said it out loud, but I whispered it every birthday. I didn't interrupt. He was real to me, she said. Even when everyone insisted he wasn't. I finally asked, what name? She looked over. Ben. We started with what little my father had told me. The doctor. The town records. Mara quietly helped behind the scenes, angry, yes, but also determined. Like she'd waited her whole life for this family secret to finally stop rotting in the dark. It took a week to track down the clinic records. 2 more to find a name, Benjamin Carter. Born July 14, 2001. Placed into private adoption through a sealed process. It was Anna's birthday. Do you think he knows? She asked. No, I said. Not yet. Are we doing the right thing? I didn't answer. Because what does right even mean, when every path leads through someone's pain? Eventually, we found a lead. A college in Portland. Junior year. Studying architecture. I stared at the yearbook photo on the screen, a young man with soft eyes and a crooked smile. Anna covered her mouth with her hand. That's him, she whispered. How do you know? I just do. She didn't want to write at first. Said it was too much to put into words. So I offered. I sat at the same desk where my father used to do taxes and crossword puzzles, and I wrote. Dear Ben. We don't know how to begin this. But maybe the truth is as good a place as any. We are your parents. We never meant to disappear. There is a story behind your birth that has been hidden from you, and from us. We didn't know how to hold on. We didn't know we'd be forced to let go. But you are not forgotten. And if you want to know more, we are here. Daniel and Anna. She added a single photo, her holding him, swaddled in the hospital blanket. The one she was told had been destroyed. We sent the letter by certified mail. Then we waited. 3 days later, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It said, "Is this real?" My hands went cold. I typed, "Yes. We're not asking for anything. Just a chance to tell you the truth in person." A few minutes passed. Then. Where? 2 weeks later, we met him at a coffee shop in Portland. He walked in quietly. Looked at us. Looked through us. Anna stood first. He didn't speak. Just walked up and, carefully, cautiously, hugged her. Not tight. Not long. But enough. When he pulled back, he looked at me. "You're my father?" I nodded. "You look like me," he said. "You look like her," I replied. He smiled, shy and aching. "Guess that makes me real, huh?" Anna choked on a sob. We sat down. And we began again. Part 5, Building from the Ashes. He told us his name was still Ben. He said he liked architecture because buildings didn't lie, they either stood or they fell. No gray areas. No secrets in the walls. I understood that more than he knew. We sat in the cafe for hours, each of us tiptoeing around a kind of emotional minefield, unsure of what might trigger an explosion. Anna asked about his childhood. His favorite books. His adoptive parents. They were good to me, he said. They told me I was adopted. But never the story behind it. I nodded. They didn't know. It was hidden from everyone. Ben sipped his coffee. So, what happens now? None of us had an answer. Because how do you write the next chapter of a book you weren't even supposed to be part of? Back at the motel that night, Anna couldn't stop crying. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quiet, steady tears, like rain on a rooftop. I missed everything, she said. His first word. His first step. Every birthday. Every time he was sick. I missed it all. You didn't choose that, I said. She looked up at me. But I ran, she said. I left that night. I didn't fight. I just left. You were 17. So were you, she whispered. And look at the damage we did. I didn't know how to hold her, so I didn't. I just stayed. And let her grieve the years. The next day, Ben agreed to meet again. This time, we walked through a park. Just the three of us. He asked about us, how we met, what went wrong, what might have been. Anna told him about the lake, the fire, the whiskey. I told him about my father's silence. My mother's guilt. The way the truth had eroded all of us in different ways. When we stopped to rest, he looked at us both and said, I'm not mad. Anna blinked. You're not. I mean. I should be, right, he said. But I don't know how to be angry at ghosts. You're not a ghost, I said. He looked at me for a long time. No, he said. But I think I'm still deciding if you are. Later, as we were leaving, he handed Anna a folded piece of paper. I drew this last year, he said. Didn't know why. Guess now I do. We waited until he was gone before opening it. It was a sketch. A cabin beneath tall pine trees. A crooked porch. A single figure standing in the doorway, looking out toward the trees. It's our house, I whispered. Anna nodded. He's always carried it with him. Even if he didn't know what it was. We stayed in Portland for 3 more days. Spoke less. Thought more. When we left, Anna reached for my hand as we crossed the state line. I don't want to lose him again, she said. You won't. And you? She asked. Where do you go now? I didn't have an answer. Because something had changed in me, too. Back home, Mara met us at the door. She didn't say much. Just hugged me. And said, he looks like you. My father died 2 nights later. Peacefully, they said. In his sleep. I stood over his bed in the early hours, just me and him. You were wrong, I whispered. The truth doesn't rot in the dark. It grows. I placed the photo of Ben and Anna, the one we'd taken in the park, on the table beside him. Not for forgiveness. Just for truth. Anna moved back into town a month later. We didn't get back together. Not in the way people expect. But she was there. And I was there. And so was Ben, visiting more, asking questions, letting the cracks slowly become part of the design. One Sunday, he said, maybe the ruins are still beautiful. If you know how to look. And I believed him. But then came the call. A stranger's voice. A quiet hesitation. And then. This might sound impossible, but. I think Ben has a twin. Part 6, The Shadow Brother. I replayed the voicemail 3 times. This might sound impossible, but. I think Ben has a twin. The voice was female. Calm. Almost apologetic. She left a name, Caroline. And a number. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. We'd been through the records. We'd found the truth. But something about the way she said it, quiet, certain, stuck in my chest like a thorn I couldn't ignore. That night, I sat in my truck outside the house, staring at the number on my phone, thumb hovering over the call button. Then I pressed it. She picked up on the second ring. Hello? This is Daniel. Silence. Ben's biological father. Another pause, then a breath. I was hoping you'd call. Her voice was older than I expected. Measured. Not nervous. She told me she was a nurse. Used to work at the same clinic where Ben had been born. And that, after reading an article about adoption reunions, she'd remembered something. There were 2 boys, she said. Identical. Premature, but strong. The files were sealed under pressure. Private deal. Off the books. My hands gripped the wheel. Are you sure? I was there, she said. I helped hold one of them while the other was being cleaned. I only saw them for a moment, but I remember their eyes. Like mirrors. She paused. One of them was listed as adopted. The other, disappeared. No file. No record. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't tell Anna. Not right away. Not even Ben. I needed more than a stranger's memory before I ripped another layer off a healing wound. But I couldn't ignore it either. Caroline agreed to meet me. We sat at a park bench, overlooking a frozen lake. She brought an old leather journal, pages yellowed and brittle. I wrote everything down, she said. Names. Dates. I knew someday someone would ask. She showed me the entry. July 14, 2001, twin boys. Room 3B. Evelyn and Rachel present. One listed. One not. Second boy removed before sunrise. I blinked. Rachel? Caroline nodded. The aunt. She was the one who arranged everything. Paid in cash. Said the second child wasn't to be documented. My mouth went dry. That couldn't be right. Rachel had died years before. She was never part of this. But then I remembered something. A photograph I found in my mother's box after her funeral, a woman I thought was a cousin, holding a baby I never recognized. Now I wasn't so sure. I drove to Mara's house. Showed her the journal entry. She didn't speak for a full minute. Then, carefully. Mom always said she had a sister who disappeared. Never explained. She had another sister. She didn't talk about her. I always assumed she was dead. Or estranged. She left before I was born. I leaned forward. What if she didn't just disappear? Mara's face darkened. What if she took the other twin? Back at the house, I searched through the boxes in the attic. Photos. Receipts. Old letters with unfamiliar addresses. And then, tucked inside a cookbook, a black and white photo. 2 infants. Wrapped in identical blankets. Labeled only. J&E, July 2001. My heart dropped. Ben and someone else. I called Anna. Told her everything. She didn't cry. She just sat on the porch, arms wrapped around herself, staring out into the trees. Why? She finally asked. I don't know. If he's alive, she began. We'll find him, I said. But we have to be sure. Her voice shook. I'm not sure I can go through it again. I understood. But I also knew we had no choice. That night, I emailed Ben. Attached the photo. Asked him a single question. Do you recognize this boy? His reply came 5 minutes later. I've seen him. At school. He's in one of my classes. Part 7, The Other Face. Ben met us at a diner just off campus, tucked behind a gas station and a row of sagging telephone poles. The kind of place where time felt slower, quieter. We sat in a corner booth, Anna beside me, her hands wrapped around a mug that had gone cold minutes ago. I didn't want to believe it, Ben said, voice low, steady. But when I saw the photo, I knew. I've seen that face before. Every week. What's his name? I asked. He looked down at the table. Eli. Have you ever spoken to him? Ben hesitated. Once. During orientation. We were paired for a group exercise. The professor even joked we looked like brothers. And? I laughed. He didn't. Anna finally looked up. You think he knows? I don't know, Ben said. But, sometimes he looks at me like he's waiting for me to say something first. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked the motel parking lot until the stars faded and the sky began to lighten. I kept seeing that photo, the two boys, identical, unaware of the split that would define their lives. Ben. Eli. Raised separately. One by love. One by, what? The next day, Ben made contact. A text. To Eli. Can we talk? It's about something important. Family stuff. Eli replied 2 hours later. Yeah. I figured this was coming. We met him in a public park near campus. He was already sitting on the bench when we arrived. Same face. Same build. But colder. More cautious. Like someone who had grown up learning how to protect something he didn't fully understand. Eli stood when we approached. Looked each of us in the eye. I know who you are, he said. How? Anna asked. He gave a half shrug. I overheard the woman who raised me. She was arguing with someone. Said my real mother was asking questions. I stepped forward. Who raised you, Eli? He looked at me carefully. A woman named Lorraine. Said she used to be a nurse. My breath caught. Caroline. The same woman who had helped deliver them. The one who kept the journal. The one who told me everything. She never said she was my mother. Just that I was given to her to protect. That I had a brother somewhere. Ben took a step closer. And you never tried to find me? Eli's jaw clenched. I did. But then I saw you one day. Laughing. With friends. A family. You looked whole. I didn't want to ruin that. Anna's voice cracked. You wouldn't have ruined anything. Eli looked at her. Are you my mother? She nodded slowly. I am. Something broke in his face. Something not quite sadness, not quite anger. Just, release. And then he asked the question I think he had carried his entire life. Why didn't anyone want me? Anna moved toward him carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. You were taken, she said. They told me one child survived. I didn't know there were two. I never had a choice. Tears welled in his eyes. Why didn't she tell me? I don't know, I said. But you were never forgotten. Ben finally reached out and placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. You're not alone anymore, he said. And in that moment, in the quiet space between two brothers, two strangers, something fragile and sacred passed between them. Not resolution. Not forgiveness. But recognition. Later that night, Eli asked if he could see the house. Ours. The one beneath the pines. We drove together. He stood on the porch and ran his fingers over the peeling wood, the rusty mailbox, the initials carved into the frame. D+A. I guess this is where it all started, he said. Yeah, I said. And maybe now, it's where something new begins. But as we stepped inside, Mara was waiting with an envelope in her hand. She looked at me, then Anna, then the two boys. I found this in Mom's attic, she said. I think you all need to see it. Inside was a birth certificate. Twins. Benjamin James Carter. Elijah Daniel Carter. The signature at the bottom. Rachel Anderson. My mother. Part 8, What was taken, what remains. No one spoke for a long time. The envelope sat between us like a wound no one wanted to open further, but everyone knew had to be cleaned. Rachel's name on the certificate wasn't just a signature. It was a confession. Anna finally whispered, she forged it. Claimed them as hers. Mara nodded slowly. I think. Mom couldn't bear to see you raise a child without support. And when she saw how scared everyone was, she stepped in. She didn't just step in, I said. She erased half the story. Ben was staring at the paper, his jaw tight. Eli didn't look at it at all. He looked at me. You knew her? Yes, I said. She raised me. And you never knew she did this? No. I swear. He nodded, but his eyes were distant, somewhere between disbelief and exhaustion. Then he said it. She stole me. It's a strange thing, grief for something you never knew you had. Eli didn't cry. He went quiet. Not out of anger, but out of something deeper, like a mirror shattered before it could show him who he was. Anna reached for him. He let her. Ben sat on the steps, holding the photo we'd found months ago. The two infants, wrapped together. A perfect beginning that was stolen before it could begin. I think, he said carefully, we need to stop blaming ghosts. We buried Rachel 2 weeks later. No grand ceremony. Just the four of us, me, Anna, Ben, and Eli, standing over a modest grave shaded by the same pines that had watched over every chapter of our story. I placed the certificate beneath a small stone. Not to erase what she'd done. But to acknowledge it. To mark the truth. In the months that followed, the four of us found a rhythm. Not family, not yet, but something close. A slow, uncertain dance of shared meals, awkward silences, too honest conversations. Ben invited Eli to one of his studio presentations. Eli came. Anna started calling every Sunday. Sometimes Eli answered. I fixed up the old house. Room by room. Not because I planned to stay, but because I needed to leave it better than I found it. Some things deserve to be rebuilt. Even if the foundation cracked decades ago. One evening, I found a box in the basement. Dusty, sealed, untouched for years. Inside were letters. From Anna. To Rachel. Most of them were returned. Unopened. She had tried. She had begged. I handed them to Anna. Her hands trembled as she held them. I thought she hated me. She was trying to control what she couldn't fix. She couldn't forgive me, Anna said. She couldn't forgive herself, I replied. The last letter in the box was addressed to me. Unsent. Daniel. By the time you find this, I'll be gone. I know you'll hate me. Maybe you already do. But I did what I thought was right. You were just a boy. And Anna, she was drowning. I tried to hold us together the only way I knew how. I'm sorry I broke you in the process. If you ever find them, the boys, don't let silence be the thing that raises them. Tell them everything. Even the ugly parts. Especially those. Love. Mom. And so I did. Ben and Eli turned 25 this year. They're both still figuring it out. But they speak now. Regularly. They don't call each other brothers yet. But they don't say strangers either. Anna teaches art at the local high school. She tells her students that grief is just love that has nowhere to go. And me? I stayed. Not because I had to. But because, for the first time in my life, staying felt like choosing. Sometimes, when the wind moves through the pines just right, I sit on the porch and think about all the versions of us that never got to live. The family we could have been. The boys we lost. The silence that shaped us. But I also think about this version. The one with scars, yes, but also hands reaching across old fractures, trying to make something steady from what was once broken. A house rebuilt. A name finally spoken. A story told in full.